Good afternoon. It's Friday. Is it? Yeah, Friday the 11th of September. Is it today? Yeah,
That's it.
September 11. 19 years ago was the big day, wasn't it? So, uh, welcome along, Aunt Hannah. It's great to catch up with you, my friend. How have you been?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, really good. And
So,
it's
I
funny.
guess, yeah, off the top of the show, can you remember where you were 19 years ago?
Yeah, I sure do. I was intoxicated.
What?
I'd come home from there's a bar in Melbourne. It's called Bobby McGee's,
Yeah.
and I'd come home from Bobby McGee's and it was in the kitchen, trying to get some substance after a big night of drinking. And remember flicking on the TV and started watching the airplanes going into the building. So I ended up staying basically up all night.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember uh, this was back in, I was still, it was only my second year at CTBS at the time. I was only just started, and we had this very small TV. It was so small, and you'd have it on and it was just on blaring all day about, these planes crashing to the Twin Towers. It was a crazy time. So a bit of a
Yeah.
reflection on all of that. So, um, have you ever been to New York since all that?
I have, mate. I've
Yeah. Yeah.
part of the Australian firefighters calendar. Went over there and went on the Today Show 2 years ago or so, and then after that they took us down to the memorial and took us on a little tour through there, which is it's phenomenal. Have you been down there?
Yes, I have been to New York once. We spent
Yep.
a week there, stayed in
Yep.
Midtown, and went to the memorial and got selfies and photos and all that sort of stuff. So, there was just when security started to get a bit tighter, and this was back in 2013. So,
Yep.
um, and I think the towers weren't quite finished being rebuilt at that stage, but I think they were getting there. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience going to New York. So, and certainly they've would have suffered over the last 6 months, but and I think things have sort of, from what I'm reading about over there at the moment, it's not so great in New York as it
No.
was prior to COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Sorry, mate. Yeah, no, it's pretty bad over there at the moment, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, so that's okay. But I guess, a bit about yourself, Ant. So, you've obviously got a bit of history. You're obviously a firefighter. Tell us about, and obviously your wife's involved and you're obviously involved as well in this really good, great business on the north side in the Redcliffe area, Skin Mass.
Yep.
And that's basically a revolutionary business. I guess you're seeing I guess a lot of people needing to get something cosmetically done to their face, and I guess that particular your business is great at working out what needs to be done and all of that sort of stuff. So that seems to be taking off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what skid mass is, where I suppose we look at cosmetics. So, we're talking about anti-wrinkle procedures and different types of fillers, and also skin sort of treatments. So, peels, and we're also doing teeth whitening and stuff like that. But it's more medical based treatments, not your beauty based. So we don't do waxing or anything like that. We're more clinical, where you've got to be a registered nurse to basically do pretty much 90% of the procedures that we undertake here at Skin Mass.
Excellent. And just to shout out a bit of a plug there was about a 6 episode series that Skin Mass did about explaining about all the different types of treatments that there are, about a good explanation on the some tips and some things to expect. So a
Yeah,
very good series. You and your wife did a great job there.
thanks, mate. Yeah, it's called We Are Skin Mass, and it's we go through on the podcast different procedures. There is meant to be more on the way, but it's just not enough hours in the day at the moment. Since COVID has allowed us to open up again, it's just been gangbusters. Whether it's people using their money that they weren't allowed to use on holidays to come and get treatments, or whether the business is just growing overall with the current environment that we're in. So it's been flat out since we've opened, and hopefully it continues.
Excellent. I'm sure they'll be busy. Skin Mass will be busy for months and years to come. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. I mean, obviously, it's the business hasn't been going for more than a few years, so it's good when it's in a business as its early stage and getting traction, and it's really good as an advisor to see exactly where you guys are taking it and the ideas that you're sort of coming up with and all of that sort of thing. So that's really, really good. But about yourself though, Ant. Now, you're an interesting guy. As I said, a firefighter. How many years have you been a firefighter for?
Coming up 7 this month. Yeah.
7 years. And what were you doing? What were you doing prior to that?
Yeah. So prior to that, I was a police officer down in
Yeah.
Victoria. But I was 80 to 90% of that, I was part of a tactical team. And within that tactical team, I was a counter-terrorism negotiator. So it was quite a busy role. And then, I was probably down there for 8 years and decided to jump ship to the fire service just for probably a different lifestyle and a better balance, I guess, in work-life balance.
So what sort of hours do you as a firefighter sort of have been working over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so it's 4 on, 4 off. So 4 days on, 4 days off, 10-hour days, 14-hour nights. So 2 days, 2 nights, 4 off. So it's quite a good roster.
Yeah, and it sort of doesn't discriminate with days. You have to work weekends or?
No, that's it. It just sort of rolls over. So you can sort of look forward in a roster and with that working out that sort of that system, and you can see 2 years down the track whether you got Christmas off or whether you got Australia Day off. It makes it easy to plan.
Do they still allow you to have like a few weeks off of holidays and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's good actually, because you get a bit of toil, so accrued toil in that roster. So you end up with 8 weeks off a year, which it's better than most jobs.
So, and whereabouts? I mean, did you sort of grow up in that area down in Victoria, or?
Yeah, born and bred Victorian, just north around the Heidelberg area, and got the job in the fire service up here, so I had a bit of a sea change.
Yeah, so and obviously you enjoying the work with the fire service. That's obviously something you see yourself there for a while, or?
Yeah, I suppose it's been a bit of a challenge actually, just with how much slower it was compared to the last job. Definitely enjoying the lack of paperwork and all those boring sort of things, but I don't know. I do enjoy it and I really like it, but if Skin Mass keeps going the way it is, it seems like I'm working more and more and more with that as well. So who knows what the future holds.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, it really is a family business, and you sort of made it, and really sort of you sort of helping that business in lots of different ways. Even though you're not a registered nurse or a professional person there, so your dedication certainly is going to keep making things tick over, I guess, and run quite well. So that's really good. But one of the things to talk about on this podcast today, I guess, is you've recently released this book. So I just wanted to ask you a bit about when you first, I guess, came up with the idea of writing a book, and how long has it been in progress for? When did you start? And tell us a little bit about, I guess, what it's about.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it probably started a few years ago when I went down to Melbourne for a Bucks party, and I was telling a few war stories, and one of the guys there goes, "Mate, this is awesome. You got to write a book. You got to write some of these stories down." So I started thinking about it, and I suppose I just didn't want a book full of stories. It needed to be more than that. So I had a few ideas, but then I started to question myself. Do I have the expertise to be writing a book? And the only thing I'm an expert on is myself. So I thought, all right, well, I'll write a book about myself. So I've had some pretty interesting experiences. Even I'm, getting close to 40, I've had some pretty interesting experiences. And the book's about early on being diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and it was a pretty bad form, I suppose, of it. And the only thing that sort of helped with it was vigorous exercise. So I did a lot of athletics, won a couple of national championships, and then used, I suppose, the obsessiveness to apply it to setting goals and chasing goals. And that was how I got into the police force, then to the fire service, and now onto doing 1,000 push-ups a day. And that's basically what it's about. There's obviously a lot more in it than that. You know, there's dodgy reality TV shows and.
Have you been part of that, or?
Yeah, well, I was on Perfect Match.
You're on Perfect Match.
Yeah, Perfect Match back in.
How many years ago was that?
Oh, I was probably 19, so 2001, I think. Yeah.
Very young.
You're very young. Yep. So I went over to New Caledonia, and yeah, had an interesting experience with a bunch of people I'd never met. So yeah, the book's got all the random little stories like that. So it's entertaining. It's heartfelt, and there's also, you know, a bit of a battle with OCD and depression that they sort of go hand in hand. But yeah, so that's what hopefully someone can relate to some of those experiences.
Yeah, and the book is called something about you live in the what's it called?
Yep, it's your world. I'm just living in it.
Yeah, that's it. It's your world. I'm just living in it, and it's obviously got you on the front cover there. So I look forward to sort of having a good read of it too. Actually, I've read bits. Just started having a bit of a look at it, but I want to sit down and it should be one of those sort of books you can read in a day, or I think, and get enough out of that. And I think So congratulations on going through and achieving that goal of getting a book out there. How many? And obviously you published obviously a number of copies. You must be sort of. I think it'd be fascinating to see all these books being published and being able to distribute them however you want to distribute them.
Yeah, that's right. It was nice cutting open that first box and smelling the finished product, because it has been a bit of a battle, and there's always these unexpected hurdles that pop up, and it's a long process. And I'm actually going to do a podcast on the process of what the steps are. And with COVID, it's made it difficult with Amazon. Amazon normally print on demand and then just send them out, but at the moment they're not taking on new books in Australia anyway. So I had to publish them here and distribute them myself, which it is what it is. Just
interesting.
Yeah. But Amazon has still got the e-copy. So the e-copy's on Amazon, but otherwise.
That's what I'll be looking at, the e-copy, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
But tell us about this. I mean, obviously OCD. Tell us about the regime of, we've spoken about this before, 1,000 push-ups a day. Where does this sort of come from? And you've been doing this for how many days now? And have you done your 1,000 already today?
Yeah. So, it started with, I was running marathons, I'd run a marathon. And I was in a better mood when I was ran a marathon. I thought, all right, I better do another one because it put me in a better mood. But then I got sick with pneumonia and had to stop training for a while, and my mood decreased. And I thought I'd come back and I'd do something different. So I decided to do some push-ups, and I listened to a podcast about James Scott, who was a boxer that went to jail, and he was the number 2 contender. And in jail, the commentators wanted him to fight the number 1 contender to see who was the best fighter. So they went to the warden, and the warden has gone, well, he's in jail, he can't fight, but you can bring the ring and the cameras in here. So in 1970 something, they brought the cameras into the jail, and he fought, and he beat the crap out of the number 1 contender. And they've asked him, he looks so fit, what's he doing? And the warden's gone, well, he's doing 1,000 push-ups a day. So well, that's interesting. Let's see what happens if I do 1,000 push-ups a day. So that's what I've done. Started doing 1,000 push-ups a day. I'm on day 129, so in the 5th month. I've added 5 kilos, put on 3 centimeters around the chest.
So how have you added weight?
Just through pure volume of just the work. So, and I suppose what I think is just, like cyclists on the Tour de France, they've got huge thighs and legs, but everything else is small. So I think just the volume is creates the size, and I guess probably like a bricklayer. Bricks aren't individually, they're not that heavy, but when you lift a heap of them, you just get thick forearms. And so I guess that's what's happened with the push-ups. And what I am finding now that I've been going for 5 months, the weight's dropping back a little bit as I get more cardiovascular.
What's the diet like at the moment? What are you eating diet-wise?
It's high protein, but I'm not fanatical at the moment. I pretty much eat whatever. So I'm not really watching that too much. But once you do 1,000 push-ups and then some back exercise to counteract that, all of a sudden you've burned a few thousand calories, and you can eat whatever you want.
And what sort of, any particular foods you're avoiding though, I guess?
Not really. I'm not really a big sugar eater, so I probably would say sugar. But other than that, that's about it. Just because I'm not really into sugar, but Doritos, I'm a big fan of Doritos. So, so I counteract with Doritos what I don't eat in sugar.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, what does the rest of the year look like for you then? The book's out now. What any sort of thing, I guess, up from now until Christmas that you expect to happen?
Look, I don't know. The book, I'm just trying to get out there and get it publicised, promote it. The idea of the push-ups is to do it for a year, so I'll finish on May 6th next year. I think that's the date. So just continue pushing through. I'm only a third of the way through. So
were you were doing this even before you started counting though, weren't you? Last year, I'm pretty sure you said you were doing 1,000 push-ups a day, and obviously maybe you got an injury and stopped doing it for a while.
Yeah, no, I did 80 days and I wasn't really doing it for any reason. I just sort of got to 80 days. I thought, all right, that'll do. I'll stop now. And then I probably left it for about 10 months. And I thought, I wonder, the results were interesting, and I shrunk back to my normal size, and it got me thinking, I wonder what would happen if I did it for a year. So I started from day one again, and back up past where we were last time. So who knows when it's going to stop. I'll probably get to day 366 and just be so used to doing it, just crack them out anyway.
Well, obviously, routine is what it's all about. And getting into a routine when it comes to fitness is, definitely one of the hardest things in the world to maintain for forever.
Yep.
You always get to a certain point where something changes. It's always, history tells us this, and obviously you would know this, that it's everyone's built differently, but as far as keeping that sort of routine for something like fitness is definitely the hardest. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where people go wrong, isn't it? They lose a spoke in their wheel, and it goes from one day to a second day to a third day. So for me, I've just made this a non-negotiable, and I think people need to make it a non-negotiable. And that might be just going to the gym. Because if you just go to the gym, it's unlikely you'll walk through the door, then walk out without doing anything. It's getting up and getting there is the hardest part. So if you can do that,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So if you can get there, and that's the non-negotiable, and if you do a half-assed workout and then go home, well, it's still better than nothing. So, and most people go, well, I've got up, I've put my gear on, I've packed my bag. Yeah. So yeah, that's I think that's the biggest thing is making your non-negotiables and then sticking to those.
I'm just going to pause for a sec. Just hang on a sec.
I'll go get it.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. That's cool. Yeah.
Just getting a knock at the door. That was lunch, I think.
Yeah, beautiful.
Getting delivered. Hopefully, getting sort of keto-friendly meals delivered.
Yeah.
But sort of sometimes it's a bit hit and miss.
Yep.
Carrots aren't keto apparently, according to my wife. So.
Okay. No worries.
But So 19 years ago, it was. It's crazy that it's come that far now. When you go back to the start of the podcast, about what we're all sort of doing back then and how it sort of had a huge impact. And you said you used to work in the area of negotiating with terrorism. What was was there any sort of story there that I guess in that particular role that sort of is a story to tell, I guess, when it comes to what you did in that job? Like any interesting situations that you got involved in?
Yeah, so I suppose I'd got out just before the Lint siege. So the Lint siege one,
Oh yeah.
that was considered that counterterrorism, obviously. So you'd have to have that qualification to have spoken to him, which I had. So each state has a certain amount of negotiators trained up with that qual. Once it's identified as a counterterrorism, you must have completed this sort of training to undertake that primary role as the negotiator. Before that, look, it was probably more just policing, traditional policing negotiation, which is suicide intervention, barricaded persons, and I suppose some hostage situations, but probably not terror related. So in terms of stories for counterterrorism, I don't really have one for you, I guess. There was one, where it depends what I suppose you consider it, someone with a fake bomb on them, but
yeah,
it wasn't a real bomb. And yeah, so, but yeah, the bread and butter of negotiation was your barricaded people that needed to be arrested and didn't want to be, and people threatening suicide. They were mostly the most common.
And going back to inspirations, I guess, are there any sort of inspirations that you have when it came to sort of doing your book, like one that may relate? I mean, when it comes to things like mental health and fitness and that sort of thing. Fairly well known, Tyson Fury, a boxer. Have you heard of him?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I may have spoken to you about him before, but I think what do you think of his case of this? Have you read his book?
No, I haven't read his book. I do know who you're talking about though, but unfortunately I haven't read his book.
No, it's a great book. It goes through his story about nearly driving in this car, going really, really fast, and he was just going to crash it into something, and then something clicked and changed, and that's the story he tells. And it's quite interesting that he just sort of went from being the world champion to 100 pounds overweight in the space of less than a year.
Yeah.
Through depression and not knowing what it was, and he didn't understand why.
Yeah.
And it took him. It took a bit of time to understand it, and then basically it became down to what you sort of do to counteract some of your things is the whole fitness regime. Keep fit, keeps the mind active, keeps the importance of all of that is you found it to be so important in your life.
Yeah, well, I suppose everyone was always talking about positive thinking, and I didn't understand what they meant. Like I was feeling so blue and so down, and they'd go, "Oh, think positive about that." But I didn't feel positive about it. Like, yeah, I could if I was thinking positive, I was just being delusional. Like that's not how I was feeling about things. And it was when a psychiatrist has said, "Mate, you understand there's no magic pill. You've got to do the work." And I thought, all right, okay, this is a psychiatrist. That's his job to give out pharmaceuticals. And he's saying there's not one that's going to work. So I better go look at this other psychotherapy. So it was when I was running the marathons that I was like, all right, if I run 20 Ks and then the next day I get to the 20K mark and like, come on, mate, you've done it yesterday or the day before. You can do it. You can go further, a little bit further. And I had that internal dialogue, giving myself a pat on the back. And then I was feeling that improved my mood, and I got a bit further. And as time went on, that sort of my mood lifted. And then when I started doing the push-ups, I'd do the 1,000. The next day I'd be feeling crap, and I'd be going, come on, mate, you did it yesterday. You can do it. So I gave myself a little pat on the back, and then my mood was lifted. And then I started then giving myself a pat on the back for things outside physical. You made the bed today. Good on you, mate. Give yourself a pat on the back. Like as stupid as that sounds, I started giving myself a little pat on the back for doing mundane jobs or little things. And I started thinking positive about, then the bed's made and I feel good about the bed being made. And I give myself, good on you, mate. You've done the bed. Now do this. Now do that. Now do this. And then it just, over time, it built up. And then I started looking, then I started to understand what they meant. by thinking positive. It just, the penny didn't drop on how
Mm.
that related to me. So I outlined that in the book. And now, you know, I've got a whole different way of looking at things, but I still need to do that vigorous exercise. So I'm giving myself that internal dialogue of positive thinking.
Yeah, that's nice. That all makes perfect sense, I guess. You know, obviously that you sort of reviewing what you're doing along the way and just making sure you're keeping yourself accountable, and that's a really, it's not an easy system, you know, to sort of get entrenched, but it's a habit, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a habit, and it's, you know, and it's like one of those. It's like going to the gym. You've just got to continually work on it. Otherwise, as again, you take one of those spokes out, and eventually the wheel will break. So you just got to keep, you know, it's very easy to go, well, I'm going to mess up the bed later, so what's the point of making it? But so you've just got to go, no. It's yeah. So, and then enjoy looking at it being made. And I like to refer to that because it's so simple and it's so relatable.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I guess any other stories or bits of advice that you want to sort of give today, now that you've got the platform, the opportunity to get any more messages out there, or any other experiences?
Yeah, well, I suppose I've got one part in the book that a lot of people have sort of related to is, found interesting, was when I was a young kid, I got to meet Michael Johnson, the Olympic 200 and 400 meter sprinter. Got to do a training session with him, and
wow, king, yeah.
yeah. And I remember asking him at the start of a 400 meters, I feel sick because I know, you know, within 49, 50 seconds, I'm going to be in extreme pain. Do you feel that? And he smiles at me and goes, nah. He goes, on race day, I only have to run one. In training, I've got to run way more. So he goes, you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that sort of just changed.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So it changed the way I sort of thought about a lot, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and then it makes everything a lot easier. So I sort of, if you end up reading the book, you'll see that that's a consistent theme, is putting myself under pressure to get the better out of myself. So that's probably the
great message.
The takeaways. And you know, I was probably 12, 13 years old when he told me that, and then I'm so glad he did.
And it's sort of stuck there, and it's something you always come back to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No worries, mate. I think we might just wrap it up shortly, but it's been great to catch up with you, Ant. It's been fantastic. Thanks, and yeah, no worries. All the best with the book. We'll get it. Obviously, try to promote it, you know, through all the different channels, through people I know as well. But I think it certainly be worth a read.
Absolutely.
Look forward to seeing, you know, I guess seeing the story continue to evolve. You know, obviously you're very sort of prevalent and Skin Mass is too when it comes to social media, both promoting the brand of Skin Mass and also of also yourself and the book. So you've got your own website, anthanna.com.
Yep.
Yep.
No, just .com.
Yeah, anthanna.com.
Yep.
It's a great story. Do yourself a favour and have a look and read it. And just a reflection on, I think yesterday was Are You OK Day? So very important message considering where we are. But I think what's important, what people often say about Are You OK Day is that really should be every day. It isn't just yesterday. It's today, it's tomorrow, and it's next week and next year. So, you know, we've got to keep asking ourselves that question all the time, and we've just got to make sure that this whole coronavirus pandemic has certainly had a strain when it comes to a lot of people's mental health. So make sure you get out there and make sure you're keeping in contact with all your friends and people that you're acquainted with, and making sure they're okay, and work colleagues, people that you work in your whole chain of your life.
Absolutely.
So, mate, thank you very much for that. I might have some lunch now, and
no worries.
And we'll see what that's like. Thanks very much, Ant. And I'll send you a link on YouTube if you need it. So
no worries.
Put it up. So thank you very much. Cheers,
awesome. Mate. Thank you very much for having me, and take it easy. Enjoy your lunch.
Okay. Will do. Thanks, mate.
Cheers,
Cheers.
mate. Bye.